Hey everyone, Knight here. I want to take a second to thank everyone that has subscribed to my channel. It really does mean a lot to me to see all this positive feedback. Again, thank you. Now to get into these next 3 stories. The deep web has been a topic of discussion for a while now. It is a place where anything goes and anything can be created. I have also included a very creepy video recently pulled from the deep web at the end of this video. So enjoy. I've been into creepy stuff since I was a kid. My mom got me into creepy movies at a pretty young age, watching Stephen King movies and those 80s camping horror films. Because she was into the morbid lifestyle. Well, naturally, being my mother's daughter, I got into the same lifestyle as I got older. Watching YouTube videos and reading articles, you find some pretty scary stuff that not a lot of people know about. That's how I found out about the deep web. The deepest part of the internet where people can buy drugs and illegal military-grade weapons, post pornography, and even watch people kill each other. Now, I take everything with a grain of salt. People love to make up stories so you won't sleep at night. So of course, with my morbid curiosity, I wanted to debunk or see if these stories had some truth to them. My best friend Joe is a tech guy at one of the universities here in my hometown. So I asked him how I would adventure onto the deep web. He looked at me as if I was stupid, and proceeded to warn me that I shouldn't do something that I knew nothing about. Being the stubborn alpha female that I am, I told him that he needed to shut up and teach me. He nodded his head politely and grabbed my computer. He first went through the steps on how I get there. Download and install the Tor browsing bundle. This system is configured to use the Tor relay network, which anonymizes your connection through a distributed set of relays to prevent someone from learning your physical location. Second, you go to the built-in wiki page set up just for the deep web. This site, he says, helps you navigate through the matrix and gets you where you need to be. With my girlish excitement, I thanked him and immediately sped home to my apartment. I turned on Spotify, lit some candles, and dimmed the lights so I can start my new adventure. My MacBook Air turned on with a glee-ish tone and I put my cursor over the Tor symbol. At first I hesitated. Of course I was nervous because I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But with the beat thrusting from my phone, I clicked on the symbol. Bringing up the wiki page, I started scrolling through some of the pages. Like I thought, they were mostly drug-related stuff. If I wanted to buy a pound of heroin, I guess that's the place I'd go. I then scrolled through a page that looks like a chat room. I could see people's usernames as they were communicating back and forth. I watched for a few minutes, just to see what these people were talking about. Then a link popped up. I was intrigued, so I clicked on it. At first it seemed like a normal porno page, one that you would find on the internet these days. There was an area where you could click on the hyperlink and go into that room. Going down the page, I saw one that caught my eye. It said sleeping. Besides the words, there was a picture of a young woman in a nightgown curled up in her bed. Again, I was interested to see what that meant, so I clicked on that hyperlink. At first, all I saw was the same woman in her bed sleeping. There was nothing out of the ordinary about it. This picture seemed like a still image, one that you would take with a camera. Then all of a sudden I could hear a loud popping sound. At first I thought it was coming from the music, or my air conditioner turning on since it was 90 degrees outside. But I soon realized it came from this image. I could see the curtains moving, slowly swaying back and forth. Bringing my face closer to the screen, I could make out a small vent right under the curtains. Is this a live feed? I asked myself. Situated on the right side of the bed was an alarm clock. Looking at the big flashing red number, it said 12:01. I quickly looked at my own clock on my computer and it also said 12:01. What is this? After a few minutes of analyzing this picture, a message popped up on the chat box. It was from the username A Psycho Killer. In the chat box, A Psycho Killer wrote, "It's time." At that moment, I could see the bedroom door slowly opening. A tall man with a medium build came into view. He had on black sweatpants, a black hoodie, and a ski mask. He made his way over to the bed. At first, he just stood there watching the woman. He then reached into his pants and pulled out a huge butcher knife. He glided it across her face, pressing it hard onto her cheek. All of a sudden, you could see the woman open her eyes. She bolts up in fear as the man throws her back up on the bed. She starts screaming, a piercing scream that echoes in my own home. He gets on top of her to hold her down. Without any warning, he holds the butcher knife in the air and slams it into her chest multiple times. The woman immediately becomes limp. The man proceeds to cut her neck as blood spews all over him. He takes his gloves off and starts acting like he's bathing in it, rubbing the dark liquid all over his face and neck. Tears start welling up in my eyes. I ran over to the telephone to dial 911. I knew I couldn't tell them who this man or woman was, but maybe I can help out in some way. As I go back to my chair, I turn to the screen. The man was standing there with a bloody knife in one hand. You could see the blood dripping off the knife onto the hardwood floor, making a puddle. As he came closer to the camera, he waved. Suddenly, I heard a ding-dong coming from the chat box. A psycho killer writes, "You're next." I shut my computer and threw it across the room. The whole next day, I tried to find out if anyone found the man or woman I saw. I searched high and low on the internet, news sites and articles, but I couldn't find anything. It was like these two people never existed. To this day, I haven't told anyone what I saw on the deep web. I thought I was better off not sharing this information because people would think I'm crazy. I know what I saw. It wasn't some type of horror film or having a vivid imagination. I went onto the web to prove myself wrong, and because of my stupidity, I watched my back every damn day. I did something a few months ago when I was extremely desperate that I will never forget. I am moving to Belgium permanently this week to get away from everything and reevaluate my life. And I need to just share the story what had happened to me. This story is a personal experience. I just wanted to get off my chest once and for all. At the time, I was in deep financial crisis. I worked at a shitty burger place, got paid $6.50 an hour, and couldn't afford to pay my rent, even considering the fact that I lived in a crummy apartment room that I could barely even breathe in. The only thing that kept me from ending it all was my girlfriend Mary. She stuck with me through thick and thin to this day. I still cannot understand why she has stayed. I definitely wasn't the good-looking fellow that every girl hoped for. I wasn't very bright either, although this confused me right to the core. I just ignored it and just enjoyed the fact that someone somehow wanted to help me and belong in my life. I was just used to the feeling of being ignored and written off since I was 19. About 6 years ago, both my parents were shot dead outside a club where my dad managed and my mom performed. I was legally able to care for myself, so they left me, out in the streets of New York. There I was feeling lonely, sad, and confused. It wasn't until I met Mary when everything in my life started to come together. Only recently, my life and Mary's has begun to fall to a long, treacherous decline. She has lost her job at the office and has no form of income. Oh, how I felt sorry for her. I really wanted the best for her. She was my Mary, and I wanted her to get what she truly deserved after everything she has done for me. At this point, both of our lives weren't going anywhere soon. We needed money, and we needed it fast. We could barely even survive. She was at my apartment one day, and we were on the couch watching TV. She was lying on me, and I had my arms around her. I held her hand in mine and said to her, "Don't worry, baby. We can get through this." Obviously, I knew there was only the slimmest of chances that we would be alive by the end of this year. The way she comforted me, the touch of my hand, it was so soft and fragile. One of the best feelings ever was holding her hand. I could never imagine losing her. She said back to me, "I know we can, Luke," giving a pathetic smile, looking up to me. I could hear the rasp in her voice indicating fear and a sense of hopelessness. I adored her so much. She was everything. It was then I got a text alert on my phone, which barely ever happened. I checked who it was, but it was an unknown number. I unlocked my phone and went to my messages. I clicked on the recent message and read it, slightly turning my phone away from Mary just in case. Here's what the message said. "Hello, Luke. We have been informed that you are in need of a personal financial assistance. We can help you, but we need something from you. Meet one of my associates at 17th Street, New York, tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp, and we will be able to provide you the very best we can. Regards, Professor K. Immediately, I had so many questions. Who was this? How did he know my name? Where did he get this information? Why is he helping me? I knew that none of my questions could be answered unless I went to the given location. Mary turned to me saying, "What happened? Who was that?" I quickly replied with, "Just an old friend. He's in town for a few days and he wanted to meet up for a drink down the block." Mary suspiciously said, "Okay," while pulling a weird face as if she did not expect me to have any friends. Fast forward to the next morning. I woke up to an awful early 8:30 alarm and got ready to meet up with my old friend. I was out of the building by 8:50 a.m. and got to 17th Street just on time. I looked across and saw an oddly wide alleyway. Not to my surprise, there I saw a man with a light brown coat on, with his collar up and his hat on. His face was almost completely engulfed by the shadow of the buildings, but I could make out slightly a mustache on his face, along with the deep scar that ran across the top nose to his bottom lip. I awkwardly approached him and he pulled out a large envelope from his coat. He nodded, but didn't say a word. I walked off and shoved the envelope into my backpack. I headed over to a bar that wasn't too far away from that weird encounter. I sat down in the back corner booth and ensured that no one could see the contents of the envelope that would supposedly get me out of my current state. I can't really vividly remember exactly what the letter had said, but there was something along the lines of donation and deep web. I had no idea what the deep web was at that time, so I did a little bit of research. I got back to my apartment room and for about 2 hours I was researching the deep web. On the letter, there was a link, which is now recognizably an onion link. After installing a secure VPN, protecting myself online, I hopped onto the Tor and entered the link. "Welcome to the Human Donation Fund. Hello there, fellow human. Are you in need of money? Do you need to get your life back on track? We have the solution." At first, I thought this was just an ordinary site. Nothing unusual from the normal get-rich-quick site. Until I got deeper into the site. After about 10 minutes of reading pages of information on their procedure, I finally found my way out of this hellhole I call life right now. I was going to sell my hand and a few more unnecessary body parts to these guys. I know it may sound absolutely crazy, but I really needed the money and this was pretty much the only way to save me at the time. I was going to sell my hand, kidney, and other stuff that I really didn't want. Honestly, how much did I need it? I was going to be paid $350,000 just for giving away something that I really didn't need that much. I contacted the owner of the site through a secure email provider and he sent me the address saying the procedure will take place over there in the next 3 weeks. I didn't want to alarm Mary or tell her, as I was afraid she would leave me. Seriously? What was the worst that could happen? At this point, I had talked myself into doing that. Fast forward 3 weeks, and I had decided to bring Mary with me. I wanted her to see how much I cared for us, and that I would be willing to do anything for her. It was about an hour drive up north, and she had fallen asleep in the car. I had told her that it was a surprise for her, so she really didn't worry all that much. I was feeling quite anxious. What would she think of me? Well, that is if she was still around me. I was scared she would leave me to fend for myself in this crazy world. I was getting closer to the destination. I was about 5 minutes away when my phone lost reception. I was using my phone as a GPS and didn't really know where to go. I grabbed Mary's phone and saw that she did not have a signal either. I looked around and saw nothing but one road all around. I continued driving straight when I could see a warehouse of some sort. I thought to myself, that must be it. Where else could I go? It was a rusted red colored and wasn't too big. As I got closer, I could see that all the entrances were blocked up with wooden planks nailed together. I had finally arrived in the front of the warehouse and Mary woke up. She drowsily looked around and said, "Where the hell are we?" I replied to her with, "Don't worry, baby, just wait." We both got on my car with many attempts of closing my shitty car door. United, we walked up to the warehouse to discover a single door that we could just barely fit under and wasn't completely blocked up. That must be the entrance. I internally convinced myself that this would all end happily. We strolled to the door and I swung it open, extremely carefully. The unnerving creaking sound that the door made sent shivers up my spine, making all the hairs erect. "Hello, Professor K," I yelled in the warehouse. "Ah, Mr. Jordan, right on time. A man with a freakishly long smile walked in from around the corner wall wearing a blindingly white lab coat. He had a few utensils in his breast pocket that I couldn't even recognize, even after all those times in the dentist for my rotten-ass teeth. Mary was looking at me with the strangest face I had ever seen. I could just tell she was thinking, "What the hell is this? I swear to God, Luke, you better tell me right now." "Shall we proceed?" said the professor, gleaming his smile directly at my face. "All right," I said. Although it sounded like I was in desperate need of air, like I was dying from a lung disease, it sounded so dry that I was sure the professor knew I was absolutely shitting it. We followed him to an enclosed room within the warehouse. When we got inside, I saw the operating table and hundreds of tools all lined up on separate tables. I saw some of these tools and I felt a stab in my heart. I was so scared at this point, and Mary was about to run out of this place like there was no tomorrow. 5 minutes later, the procedure had begun, and Mary was strapped to the table. I could see the professor mindlessly sawing his way into the abdomen. Luckily, I had put medical-grade anesthetic in the water bottle that she had been drinking in the car. She was laying on the table, crying, when she was forced to watch everything. After 10 minutes of seeing all that blood, flesh, and whatever else you can find in a human body, she lost too much blood and died. After that, Professor Kate continued on for another hour or so, and I was down in a chair watching it all happen. She was dead, yet the professor still kept her strapped down to the table. I really felt sick, extremely sick. I wanted to vomit everywhere, just go absolutely crazy. But I didn't. I watched that wacko took everything from me. I needed the money more though, right? After he was done, he told me that the money would be sent via Bitcoin to my provided address. I was told that the payments would come weekly in small portions to avoid any suspicious thoughts brought up within the blockchain. I left my car, drove back home, and acted like nothing happened. On the 4th of September 2016, I have just received the last payment, giving me a total sum of $4 million. As mentioned earlier, Belgium is going to be my new home. I have a few friends there and I hope they don't mind me popping by for a bit. Now I am sitting on my dirty old couch, holding Mary's hand. Oh, how soft it is. The touch of her hand, so gentle and delicate. If only I had the rest of her with me now. Thank you, Mary. You made this all possible for me. I'm being watched. Everywhere I look, there's a red light pointed at me. This has been happening for years, but I've actually seen them now. The men with the blue hoodies. This all started to happen when I was about 7 years old. Back then, my family was in a sort of financial situation, as my mom had to leave her job because they weren't giving her any hours. My mom, my 2 older brothers, and I lived in a sweet little motor lodge with a community pool and cable access channels. We had 2 rooms, which we kept nice and tidy since we called it home. Every day, my brothers and I would chill by the pool, messing around and doing whatever kids do. One day, I had gotten out into the pool before my brothers could get dressed. I was in the pool swimming alone. There were 2 very fine-looking women just sunbathing on the other side of the pool, so I jumped in. The ladies soon joined me in the pool and struck up a conversation with me. Only one of them talked, so we'll call her Lily. Lily asked how old I was. I proudly told him, "I'm 7.5 now," and the 2 ladies giggled. Lily then asked me another slew of questions. Mostly I don't remember now, except for, "Do you like having your picture taken?" I thought about it for a short bit, and I told him that I love being in the spotlight. "Well, your picture is going to be seen by hundreds of people. Say cheese!" I smiled, and the flash of the camera blinded me for what seemed like a minute or so, and when I opened my eyes, the ladies were gone, and my brother came into the pool. They asked if I was doing okay, and not to run into the pool like that. Ever since that event, I've always felt watched, definitely not by the same people. I didn't pay it much mind, as I was always walking about in the streets, and people were always watching you and all the other people on the sidewalk, until I found the deep web. My brother had told me about the secret internet where I could find alien sightings, and of course I believed them. This was a few years later, when I knew much more about computers. Other than the space pinball and the Sonic comics, I learned more about the secret internet, and found out about the deep web wiki. I was randomly clicking links, trying to find something interesting, but not too interesting. I came across the site called Candy Candy. It had a bright pink background with the Easter blue font for the words. The description of the site was in the darker shade of blue though, as it said, "If you want to find any little boys, you've come to the right place. We have a variety to choose from. Fat, skinny, tall, short, infant, you want it, we got it." I was initially creeped out about it and decided to close my browser until a pop-up showed up. "Are you sure you want to leave?" I didn't want to leave. I scrolled down and I wish I hadn't. I saw pictures of chained up boys under the age of 10. Each had the tag, "Taken." My mind told myself to leave and forget what happened, but I was fascinated. I kept scrolling down, cringing at all the pictures, until I saw me. There was a picture of me on the website, of me at the pool. I looked at the tag of the picture and it said, "For sale." I clicked the picture and a summary popped up saying, "Age, 13 years old, black hair, hazel eyes, and loves company." After I saw this horrifying description, I shut off my computer and forgot about it. I'm 15 now, and I found the website again and immediately scrolled down to my picture, which was now a recent picture of me at the OBX beach in North Carolina. The tag now said, "Sold."